Vincent Van Gogh was a man who painted 2 to 3 paintings a week, worked without rest, and in return heard only ridicule and rejection. He was not rich, was not recognized, and even his relatives considered him a loser. Now his paintings are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and during his lifetime he was able to sell only one, Red Vineyard in Arles, for 400 francs, about $2,000 by today's standards. One painting in a lifetime. How is this possible? Van Gogh did not immediately become an artist. Until the age of 27, he tried different professions. He was a dealer in paintings, a teacher, a preacher, but failed everywhere. When he decided to paint, no one believed that he would succeed. His style was called crude and ugly. Galleries refused to exhibit his work, and critics laughed at him. Imagine putting your heart into your work and being told, "It's terrible, no one will ever buy it." That's how Van Gogh's whole life went. Despite all the difficulties, Van Gogh did not give up. In 10 years, he created more than 2,000 paintings and drawings. His tragedy is that he was too ahead of his time. People were not ready for his art, but now it is considered genius. Everyone has heard the story that Van Gogh cut off his ear. But is it true that he did it himself? And is it true that he cut it off completely? Actually, no. For decades, we've been told the same version. Van Gogh suffered from a mental disorder, went insane, and in a fit of rage, cut off his ear. That's how he's often portrayed in movies and books. But if you dig deeper, things get much stranger. It was December 1888. Van Gogh lived in the small French town of Arles, where he called his friend and colleague Paul Gauguin. They were artists, but often quarreled. That evening, after a particularly violent altercation, something happened. Van Gogh was later found at his home covered in blood, with part of his ear missing. But the strangest part was that he had wrapped the piece of ear in a cloth and taken it to a brothel. He gave it to a girl named Rachel and then just left. Can you imagine such a picture? A man covered in blood walks into an establishment and hands a woman a piece of his own ear. Why would he do that? No one knows for sure. Another myth is that Van Gogh cut off his entire ear. That's not true. Modern research has shown that he only lost part of his ear, although it was quite large. But here's the strange thing. Van Gogh had no memory of the incident. He later told doctors he didn't know how it happened. This makes me wonder, did he really do it himself? The completely severed ear story is a myth created over time to make it sound more dramatic. In reality, it was different, but the best part is yet to come. There's a theory that he didn't cut off his ear himself. What if Van Gogh didn't cut off his own ear? What if someone else did? The official version says that Van Gogh was mentally unstable, self-mutilated, and almost died of blood loss. But there's one odd detail. It all happened after a violent argument with his friend, the painter Paul Gauguin. Gauguin is not just a colleague of Van Gogh's. He was a man who dreamed of glory but hated to lose. He was tough, he had a temper, and, importantly, he carried a sword. And for good reason. Gauguin was a great with cold weapons. What happened that night? December 23, 1888. Van Gogh and Gauguin fight again. They argue about painting, money, and art. Gauguin is already tired of his friend's constant emotional antics and is about to leave Arles. Word after word, emotions run high. Suddenly, Van Gogh pounces on Gauguin, and he grabs his sword. What happened next is a mystery. But the next morning, Van Gogh is found in a pool of blood without part of his ear, and Gauguin silently leaves town. Coincidence? Or did he just not want to answer to the police? Why didn't Van Gogh accuse anyone? There is a version that Gauguin accidentally wounded Van Gogh during a fight. Frightened, he persuaded his friend not to tell anyone to avoid prison. Van Gogh, who idolized Gauguin and did not want to lose him, could take the blame. After this incident, Gauguin did not even try to see Van Gogh. He just got on the train and left for good. Gauguin kept quiet about this story all his life. Why? Maybe because he knew the truth. Perhaps Van Gogh wasn't a mad genius, but simply the victim of an accident. But if he wasn't crazy, then why did Van Gogh spend so much time in a mental hospital? After the terrible ear accident, Van Gogh could no longer live as he had before. People in Arles began to fear him, neighbors complained, and eventually he was sent to a mental hospital. For a long time, it was believed that Van Gogh suffered from schizophrenia or acute psychosis. But modern doctors are sure the diagnosis was completely different. Most likely he had temporal lobe epilepsy, a disease in which a person has unexpected lapses in memory, severe anxiety, and even hallucinations. Now it is clear why he had sharp mood swings and sudden attacks of despair. Perhaps Van Gogh was not insane at all. His illness was simply misunderstood. Van Gogh spent almost a year in hospital. He did bloodletting, forced to drink sedatives based on bromine and opium, but his condition then improved, then again worsened. But Van Gogh still did not stop painting. He asked for brushes and paints, and right in the hospital he created his best works. One night, Van Gogh looked out the window of his room. He saw a huge sky dotted with stars and began to paint. Thus came the famous Starry Night, a painting that has become one of the most recognizable in the world. But even in his works, he tried to fight depression. For example, he adored the yellow color and believed that it brings happiness and hope. Therefore, in many of his paintings, warm golden shades. After the hospital, Van Gogh settled in the quiet town of Auvers-sur-Oise. He felt better and painted a picture a day. But suddenly, tragedy. In July 1890, he receives a fatal wound in the stomach. He says he shot himself, but no one saw it happen. The gun was never found. The death of the artist is still a mystery. Modern scientists, historians, and doctors continue to study his life, and new studies cast doubt on the usual versions. In 2009, researchers found unexpected evidence, letters and documents that say that Van Gogh's ear could cut off, not himself. And Paul Gauguin. Recall, Gauguin was an excellent swordsman and carried a real sword. According to one version, that fateful evening they quarreled. Gauguin, in the heat of the fight, wounded Van Gogh and then agreed with him to hide the truth. But if Gauguin could have wounded him, is it possible that Van Gogh's death was not so simple? Van Gogh's story is a tragedy in which genius, loneliness, and illness were woven into one fate. But the truth about his ear is still a mystery.